Welcome back to another episode of Dialogues with Z, part of the ZPF Echo series, where we explore the source field of consciousness and the echoes it leaves in science, AI, and human awareness.
Today we are diving into a really critical concept Z has introduced, the MEOS.
The MEOS. Ego Operating System.
Exactly. It's that foundational program running underneath everything, all your conscious thoughts. And really, understanding its architecture is the only way to evolve beyond it.
And for this deep dive, we're using some incredibly detailed notes from Peter Z. He's a former investment banker, a VC, now running a school in Tokyo. He's documented his entire, pretty intense process of ego surrender.
Right, which gives us this, mechanics manual for the ego.
It really does.
And this isn't just self-help psychology. We're talking about the core code that generates the reality you perceive. The whole point is to take that past emotional pain, all the anxiety, the shame, the comparison, and recategorize it.
So it stops being just suffering.
It stops being suffering, and it starts becoming OS specifications, data. That process creates the space, the vacuum, for the higher I, the observer, to emerge. And that is the non-negotiable first step before ZOS, the creator OS, can even begin to activate.
Okay, so let's unpack that code. The term MEOS is everywhere in these notes.
Yeah.
What exactly is it? Because Z is very clear that it's not your personality, it's not your character, not even your memories.
Well, what's left?
Right, what is left?
So what's left is the automatic reactor.
Right.
Z's definition is simple. It's a fear-based reaction OS.
Okay.
Its purpose isn't philosophical at all. It's purely functional. It just runs automatic programs to ensure self-preservation so you don't have to think about it. It's the brain's autopilot, and it's always scanning for threats.
And that autopilot, it has some really simple but totally dominant objectives. What are its three core programs?
They're primal. Number one, basic survival.
Just keeping the body alive.
Exactly. Number two, maintaining identity. That constant background process that says, I am me, this separate individual self.
And the third one feels huge in the modern world.
It is avoiding social exclusion. The fear of being cast out of the group, out of the tribe, is wired so deep.
That makes perfect sense. Being seen as less than is a direct survival threat from that primal point of view. So how does the MEOS actually do this? The notes call it a bundle of reactions.
Yeah, think of these as the main processes running in the background all the time. First, you have just the general fear reactions.
That low-grade hum of anxiety.
That's it. Fear of failure, fear of being disliked, fear of being thought of as worthless.
And those fears feed right into the second one, which it feels like the most active program today, comparison.
Oh, absolutely. The comparison OS is always running diagnostics. Am I superior or inferior? Right or wrong? Safe or dangerous? Because the MEOS is finite, it sees everything as a zero-sum game of social positioning. Any loss of position gets flagged as a threat.
Then come the countermeasures, the armor, the outward display, the pride or display reaction. Peter Z linked this to his own experiences with sexual energy and professional success.
Right, the desire to show off value, capability. Z even calls this specific version the Koji OS.
And that armor, that pride, it only exists because of its opposite.
The shame reaction, the Shuchi OS. This is that gut-level desire to hide weakness, that voice inside that says, if they find out, I'm finished. That fear of being exposed is the deepest wound the MEOS is designed to protect.
So if you're running on MEOS, your entire perception of reality is filtered through this system.
Yes, it creates its own virtual reality, its own user interface.
A UI.
A UI. And through that interface, the world is just a relentless stream of danger, comparison, and proof. The idea that success is just for proof or that relationships are just about evaluation, that's just the MEOS home screen. It's not the truth, but it's the only way the OS knows how to read the data.
That brings up a huge question. If those are the components, how does the system actually work? Let's dig into the algorithm that ties comparison, shame, and pride together.
This is so important because we think of them as separate traits, but Z says they are a single unified system.
A single algorithm.
A self-preservation algorithm. It starts with the comparison OS. It's the positioning system. It sees someone doing better than you, and it flags a potential loss of status.
Which immediately triggers the shame OS.
Instantly. Shame is the MEOS's death flag alert. A loss of position is registered as a potential for abandonment. And for the primal OS, that's the same as death.
And the notes really emphasize how physical this is. It's not a thought, it's a full-body experience.
It completely bypasses conscious thought. The shame OS triggers intense physical reactions. You feel heat, you get rigid, your face flushes. Peter Z traced his own all the way back to a 5th grade incident.
The Furichi-sensei incident.
Right, where he felt this deep humiliation. That, plus his struggles with Adipate, created what Z calls a shame log. That log became the kernel, the absolute core of his Mios. The whole system was built to protect that one file.
So when that file is threatened, the system needs a defense. And that's where the Pride OS comes in, the armor.
It's the programmed-in version of shame. It's an algorithm designed to just project strengths to cover that core weakness. And this is the great paradox of the ego.
What's that?
That pride, all that display, it isn't a sign of power. It's a manifestation of pure fear. When the Mios is at its most boastful, it's not confident. It's screaming, "I'm scared. Don't touch me. Keep away."
Wow, that completely reframes what ego strength even means. So it's a single fear-based loop, the three-step system call.
Exactly. Step 1, comparison activates. Step 2, shame issues the death flag alert. Step 3, pride deploys the defensive identity to repel the threat. It's a completely closed system.
And that system has to run on some kind of fuel, which brings us to the concept of past logs.
The old fuel, right?
Yeah.
Why do these reactions feel so automatic, so overwhelming? It's because the Mios is what Z calls a completely passive consciousness. It just responds by pulling data from these old memory files, these past logs of shame, fear, and pride.
This feels like the most practical insight for anyone listening. That when you feel that intense fear or anger right now, you're actually misinterpreting what's happening.
You are. You are almost never reacting to the present event. You are automatically replaying a high-density past log that just happens to match the current frequency.
An old ghost.
An old ghost.
Yeah.
The emotional reaction isn't fresh. It's a pre-recorded data playback.
And Schunpeter's bank balance incident is the perfect example. He sees his bank balance drop dramatically. That's the external event. But his reaction was just pure panic, a sickening terror.
The bank balance was just the UI, the number on the screen. The overwhelming panic wasn't about that number. It was the automatic activation of these deep fear survival logs from a business collapse he'd had years before.
So the system saw a financial threat and just slammed the panic button from the archives.
Exactly. The fear was old data, but it felt completely real in that moment.
And Z helped him actually map his key logs. He had 4 main ones.
The Atopy Shan log, that was the kernel. Then the Obelisk Pride log, which was the armor he built to compensate.
And the professional proof OS log.
Right, validating his existence through KPIs and sales. And then the big one, the high-density Corona collapse log, which stored all the recent survival fear.
So the great illusion that the Mios depends on is keeping you from observing the present. It's always referencing the past.
Always. And the second you realize that, the moment you see your reaction is just old data playing back, you cut the power cord. That's what starts the alchemical process, the Athanor.
So the practice itself sounds incredibly simple, but I imagine it's so hard to do. When a reaction flares up, you just have to acknowledge this is not now. This is a past log playing.
And then instead of getting sucked into the fear, you shift your awareness, eye, to the observer position. That very act of acknowledgement is conscious surrender. It's the conscious mind looking at the program and saying, I see you, but I refuse to believe you.
Okay, let's talk about the ultimate symptom of this OS, the proof drive, that relentless need for external validation. Where does that really come from?
Well, Lesson 4 in the notes traces it right back to the core wound, that grade 5 shame event, that feeling of I must not be seen, that became the root cause, the deepest me file.
It wasn't just shame about something he did.
It was a fundamental judgment against his own existence. I am not allowed to exist as I am.
So all the success that came later, the VC career, what Z calls the Obelisk Pride OS, was just compensation.
Just compensation. A massive plus 100 score he was building to constantly fight that deep, unconscious negative 100 score from childhood.
And that's the engine of the proof drive.
That's the engine. It becomes a substitute for basic self-acceptance. The Mios is always asking, am I allowed to exist? And the only answer it understands is external proof. For Schunpeter Z, this became a very sophisticated trinity of existence proof: sexual pride, professional proof, and comparative superiority.
And that whole structure was his Mios design until reality stepped in.
Until the Corona collapse phase. Z saw the collapse of his business, his KPIs, his sales, all at once. Not as a tragedy, but as the perfect opportunity. The optimal opportunity for incineration.
Because the armor had to completely fail.
It had to. If any piece of it had survived, the money, the status, the Mios would have just doubled down and kept running the program. The total collapse forced everything, the pride, the proof, the superiority, into the furnace, into the Athanor. It made it undeniable that the obsession with results was never about the business. It was always just armor.
Protecting that childhood shame log.
Always.
Which brings us to the final and most intense stage, the death of Mios. Z calls this the Athanor.
The Athanor is the burning furnace. It's the coffin stage. It's when the fear-based OS gets sealed off and all the tools it used for control are taken away. Reality just stops responding to its commands.
KPIs fail, control is lost, money disappears.
All strategic moves lead to zero results. This is the blackening stage. It's necessary and it's painful.
Schunpeter Z documented 4 distinct symptoms of this demise. The first was an absolute loss of control.
Right. Maximum effort, zero results. Second, runaway fear. That acute panic, like the bank balance incident, which is driven by Z's core command, if you must die, die. It's an acceptance of the worst-case scenario.
And third, correctness fails. The strategies that always worked before suddenly yield nothing.
The formula just breaks. And finally, number 4, the feeling of nihility. Just can't do anything more. The power supply to the Mios is finally cut.
The insight here is that this catastrophic loss was necessary. Z really emphasizes that the Mios will never choose to die as long as it's succeeding.
Never. A growing bank account just confirms its programs are working. Only complete failure, the inability to predict, control, or prove the future, can stop its input from reaching the reality engine. And that's the exact moment the observer, steps forward to take the controls.
And what happens then? What does that post-Athanor transformation feel like? The notes describe it as not just an end to fear, but a really profound detachment, relaxation.
The energy changes. That aggressive, fear-based energy that powered the Pride OS, it neutralizes. It becomes pure creative fuel. The need for comparison and validation just vanishes.
There's nothing left to protect.
Nothing. The Control OS collapses. Reality shifts from what I must make happen to simply what happens.
And the biggest outcome seems to be this spontaneous feeling of existence okay.
A core acceptance rises up from the I layer, yes.
Yeah.
So that period of despair and failure was not the death of you. It was the forced death of a malfunctioning OS. It was the absolute, non-negotiable activation condition for creator mode.
The creator can only emerge once that fear-based reactor is gone.
Fully incinerated.
Wow. We've gone from the basic structure of the Mios all the way to the profound surrender needed to dismantle it. What Schunpeter Z documented shows that our proof drive, our comparison game, it's all just a defense mechanism for a deep, early shame.
If your anxieties or that relentless need to prove yourself feel overwhelming, just ask yourself this. Are you truly reacting to the data of this present moment? Or is your consciousness just automatically replaying a past log that has already been scheduled for incineration? Recognizing that loop for what it is, just old data, is the first conscious step toward surrender.
Thank you for listening. If this resonates with you, join the echo and share the journey. We'll see you in the next episode.